The galaxy was a silent ocean of stars, vast and endless, stretching beyond comprehension. Humanity had spread among its waves, building colonies, ships, and dreams across light years of space. Among their pride and joy was the Aurora, Earth's most advanced starship, designed not just to explore but to discover the unknown and face dangers no one else could. Its crew was legendary, led by Commander Sita Ray, a woman known for courage, wisdom, and an unbreakable will. She carried hope in her eyes, determination in her steps, and a spirit that inspired everyone who served with her. But one day, the Aurora vanished. It was supposed to be a routine mission to the outer colonies, a journey that promised nothing more than routine scans and data collection. The ship left Earth's orbit under bright cheers and confident words, yet as hours turned into days and days into weeks, the crew sent no messages. Panic slowly spread. Weeks became months, months became years, and humanity came to a painful conclusion. The Aurora was gone, swallowed by the emptiness of space. Families mourned. Children who waved goodbye never saw their parents return. Colleagues who shared laughter and victories now stared at empty chairs, haunted by memories and unanswered questions. Sita Ray's name became a whisper in the wind, a memory of courage, a ghost of hope. Earth and its colonies erected memorials, yet a tiny spark in the hearts of many refused to accept the finality. Some believed she and her crew might still be alive, lost somewhere where no communication could reach. Years passed. Humanity adapted. New ships were built. New explorers trained, and yet the absence of the Aurora left a hollow ache. The galaxy, ever indifferent, moved on. Stars continued to shine. Planets spun in silent orbits, and humans continued to dream of what had disappeared. And then, one ordinary morning, the impossible happened. Alarms echoed across Earth's space stations, shattering the usual calm of routine. Sensors had picked up a familiar signature, a ship unmistakably human, unmistakably Earth's. The readings were chaotic, scattered, almost unreal. Could it be? Could the Aurora have returned after decades in the void? Scientists, commanders, and civilians all held their breath. The galaxy itself seemed to pause, watching as the ship appeared on the edge of human space. The Aurora was a ghost come back to life. Its hull was scarred, blackened by cosmic radiation and unknown forces. Panels flickered, engines groaned, and a strange ethereal light glimmered along its edges. Yet it moved steadily, almost proudly, as if it had survived storms and voids that no human imagination could fathom. Everyone knew this was no ordinary return. Something extraordinary had happened aboard that ship. Inside, the corridors were silent but alive. Shadows danced along walls cast by systems that flickered between life and decay. The air smelled faintly metallic, tinged with something unfamiliar, something not entirely human. And then, standing in the command chamber, was a figure no one dared hope to see alive. Commander Sita Ray. She had returned. Her uniform was worn, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes deep with memories of horrors and wonders beyond human comprehension. She stood still for a moment, taking in the faces of those who had long mourned her. There was a pause, a fragile, weighty silence where hope and disbelief collided. She looked older, hardened, yet unbroken. Her presence alone told a story of survival, of courage, and of secrets that the void had tried to bury. Her voice, when it came, was soft but filled with authority. We survived," she said. The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of decades, the echo of loss, and the promise of revelations yet to come. The galaxy had waited for this moment for years. Humanity had mourned, feared, and dreamed. Now the impossible had returned, a symbol that no matter how vast the darkness, hope could never vanish completely. And the Aurora held more than just survivors. It carried stories, mysteries, and a presence that would challenge everything humans thought they knew about life, the universe, and themselves. The Aurora drifted closer to Earth's orbit, her engines glowing faintly, almost as if the ship herself was weary from the long, endless journey. Across the space stations and orbital cities, crowds gathered, staring at the approaching vessel in awe and disbelief. For decades, they had mourned her loss, spoken her name in whispers, and built memorials to honor the crew. And now, against all odds, the Aurora returned, carrying life that should have been lost to the void forever. Inside the command chamber, Commander Sita Ray stood alone, silent, her hands resting on the railing. Her uniform was faded, edges scorched from unknown encounters in the far reaches of the galaxy. Her eyes, however, were alive, sharp, and full of untold stories. Every line on her face told a tale of struggle, endurance, and survival. She had witnessed the impossible, faced dangers that no one on Earth could imagine, and yet here she was, walking among the stars again, returning to the home she had almost forgotten. As the docking clamps engaged, a cheer rose from the space stations. Some fell to their knees, overwhelmed with relief. Others wept openly, unable to believe their eyes. Sita watched the celebrations quietly, not because she did not care, but because she carried something heavier than joy. A burden, a secret, a responsibility that no one yet understood. The Aurora had survived, but it was not the same. The ship had been to places where laws of physics bent, where time fractured, and where reality itself seemed fragile. The first humans to board the Aurora were scientists and engineers, sent to assess her systems and ensure no danger remained. They stepped cautiously, marveling at the ship's resilience. Panels flickered with strange lights. Corridors hummed with unfamiliar energy, and the air seemed to vibrate with a subtle, constant pulse. It was as if the ship had absorbed the void and carried its essence within her walls. And through it all, Sita guided them with a calm authority, her voice steady but tinged with the weight of what she had endured. But it was the cargo bay that drew everyone's attention. There, enclosed within a containment field of shimmering energy, was something beyond comprehension. Scientists could not define it. Philosophers could not describe it. Even Sita hesitated for a moment before explaining. The being or entity they now called Sit was unlike anything humanity had encountered. It pulsed and shifted, its form never staying the same, flowing like liquid starlight, sometimes bright, sometimes nearly invisible. Yet there was intelligence there, awareness and a presence that commanded attention. Sita stepped forward, her hand resting near the containment field. "We found it on a dying planet at the edge of known space," she said softly. "It was trapped between dimensions, caught in a reality that rejected it. No one else could save it, but I could not leave it there. I promised it protection. I brought it home." Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the emotions she rarely allowed herself to feel. Relief, exhaustion, fear, and hope swirled together in her words. Questions erupted among the scientists and officers. Is it dangerous? Could it harm us? Can it survive here? Sita looked at them, her eyes steady. It is life, she said simply. It is not ours to destroy. It is ours to protect. Her words carried the weight of experience of someone who had seen civilizations crumble, who had stared into the abyss and survived. Humans listened because she had proven herself before, and because something about a Sit demanded respect rather than fear. As the first Earth engineers attempted to stabilize the containment field, Sit responded with a faint pulse of energy, almost like a greeting. It was a moment of connection that none could explain, a bridge between the impossible and humanity. The crew realized that this entity was more than a discovery. It was a challenge, a responsibility, and perhaps even a key to understanding the universe in ways they had never imagined. Outside, the galaxy watched silently. Earth had returned one of its greatest ships, and within it a presence that defied understanding. Commander Sita Ray had brought home more than herself. She had brought hope, curiosity, and a question that would change the course of human history. Could humanity embrace the impossible, protect it, and survive alongside it? And deep inside her heart, Sita knew the answer would not come easily. The Aurora was alive in ways no one had expected. Its corridors pulsed with faint energy, lights flickering in patterns that made engineers pause in confusion. Gravity shifted slightly as people walked, subtle enough to notice but enough to make every step feel strange. Instruments measured anomalies that defied known physics. The air smelled faintly metallic, tinged with an unknown essence that was not harmful but impossible to identify. Every corner of the ship whispered that the journey through the void had changed it, and everyone who had returned with it. Sita Ray walked through the ship like a shadow of purpose. She did not rush, yet her movements carried authority and precision. Her eyes constantly drifted toward the cargo bay, where Essite remained enclosed in its shimmering field. To anyone else, it might have looked like a strange artifact, but Sita understood it was alive, aware, and connected to every pulse and hum of the ship. She often paused beside the containment field, whispering words too soft for anyone else to hear, as if the entity could sense her intentions. Scientists and engineers tried to study the being. Their curiosity mingled with fear. "It shouldn't exist," one muttered. "It's not part of any dimension we know." Instruments failed to provide clear readings. Its form constantly shifted, owing like liquid light, at times almost transparent, at times blindingly bright. No one could predict its behavior, and yet it responded to Sita's presence in ways that felt gentle, almost affectionate. The deeper the teams explored the ship, the more anomalies appeared. A room that was empty moments ago would contain faint echoes of past conversations. A panel that should display diagnostics glowed with strange patterns impossible to interpret. Even the AI of the Aurora, once familiar and predictable, now pulsed with erratic energy, speaking in tones that seemed almost musical rather than mechanical. Crew members whispered that the ship itself had become something more, a living thing, perhaps influenced or guided by It. Sita understood the risks. She had felt the pull of the void, the silent voices of other dimensions brushing against her mind during the long journey. She had seen parts of reality twist, decay, and reform, and yet despite the danger, she had chosen to carry It home. It was not a decision she had taken lightly. Many lives had been lost along the way, crew members who had vanished in places where time and space no longer behaved normally. Each loss left her hollow, each choice etched in her soul. One evening, as the station's orbit turned against the distant sun, Sita stood in the observation deck looking at Earth. The blue planet glowed softly, peaceful and unaware of the impossibilities returning to its orbit. She whispered to It, her voice trembling slightly. "We are almost home. You will be safe now. You do not have to endure anymore." Sit pulsed in response, waves of shimmering light flowing outward like ripples in water. It was a silent communication, a bond that defied words, and Sita felt her heart lift with a mixture of relief and wonder. The human crew watched, some in awe, some in fear. They could sense that It was not a threat, at least not intentionally, but they also felt its immense power, the kind that could bend reality if provoked. Questions filled the air. How had Sita kept it alive through decades in the void? How had she navigated the unknown without succumbing to madness? And most importantly, what did this being want from humanity? Sita did not have answers for everyone. Perhaps no one fully understood Sit, not even her. But she knew one thing with absolute clarity. The entity was alive, and it had chosen to trust her. In a universe filled with vast emptiness and danger, trust was more powerful than weapons, more enduring than fleets of ships. Sita had carried that trust across the void, and now she stood at the threshold of revealing it to the world. The mystery of It was only beginning. The universe had returned a gift or a challenge to humanity, one that would test courage, morality, and the very meaning of existence. And Sita Ray, weary but unbroken, was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that some truths were too important to ignore, and some lives, no matter how impossible, were worth saving. News of the Aurora's return spread faster than light across human space. But it did not remain a human concern for long. Other civilizations, observing the ship from afar, had noticed something unusual in its energy signatures. The being Sita called Sit emitted a pattern of power that no species had ever seen. Whispers of fear and suspicion traveled through galactic councils. Soon, emissaries arrived at Earth's orbit, alien diplomats with stern faces and voices colder than the vacuum of space. "They call it impossible," one alien envoy said, their tone precise and measured. "A life form that defies dimensions, that does not obey known physics, that could unmake realities with a thought. You cannot keep it. You must surrender it for the safety of all." Their words were firm, leaving no room for debate. Yet in their eyes, Sita saw something else: fear. They were afraid not of humanity, but of It, and their fear demanded control. Sita's response was quiet but unwavering. "It is life," she said simply. "It is not yours to claim. We will not destroy what we do not understand." Her voice carried across comms, reaching every station, every observer, every human within listening range. It was a statement of defiance, but not arrogance. It was a reminder that humanity had survived against impossible odds before, and would continue to do so. Inside the Aurora, tension hummed like electricity. Crew members whispered among themselves. Some wondered if they were risking their planet for something they could not even define. Scientists argued, calculating probabilities of disaster. Philosophers debated the ethics of harboring an entity that could challenge the very rules of existence. And yet, in every corner, Sita's presence reminded them of why they had returned, why they had endured years in fear and uncertainty. Some things were worth protecting, no matter the cost. The alien emissaries did not leave immediately. They issued ultimatums showing simulations of what could happen if SI's energy grew unstable or reacted defensively. Their predictions were terrifying. Ripples through space-time, collapse of nearby colonies, possible extinction events. Humanity listened, the weight of fear pressing on every mind. But Sita's gaze never wavered from the containment field where Sit shimmered. "I have faced the void," she said quietly, almost to herself. "I have seen civilizations fall and realities twist. Sit survived where everything else failed. We will not betray that life." Her words carried a strength that commanded respect even from her own fearful crew. She had seen the universe at its darkest, and she had learned that courage was not absence of fear. It was the decision to act despite it. Outside the ship, the galaxy held its breath. Fleets aligned near Earth, some in observation, some in quiet threat. Plans for war or forced compliance were being drawn. And yet Earth's people did something unexpected. They rallied. Humans spoke of trust, of hope, of resilience. They did not act with weapons first. They acted with conviction. They sent messages not of defiance alone, but of humanity's core belief that life, even the unknown and impossible, was sacred. Inside the cargo bay, Essit pulsed. It sensed the tension, the fear, the conflict. Its shifting form glimmered with energy that mirrored the emotions around it. It was aware, intelligent, and in its own way responsive. Sita reached out, placing a hand near the containment field. Her connection to the being was silent but deep, like a promise exchanged without words. "We will face this together," she whispered. The alien emissaries watched closely, confused by the unexpected courage of a species they had underestimated. Humanity, they realized, did not simply obey or retreat. It made choices. It endured. And when the impossible returned, humanity did not cower. It embraced it, protected it, and stood ready to defend it, no matter the cost. The stage was set. Conflict had emerged not just in space, but in the hearts of all who would bear witness. Choices had to be made. Lives would be risked. And humanity, led by one commander who had stared into the impossible, would show the galaxy that bravery and compassion were more powerful than fear, more enduring than weapons, and perhaps stronger than the universe itself. Tension stretched across Earth's orbit like a taut string. The alien emissaries remained, their ships silently orbiting, their energy readings glowing ominously. Every moment was heavy with uncertainty, every heartbeat echoing with the weight of potential disaster. And yet within the Aurora there was calm. Commander Sita Ray moved through the ship with quiet purpose, her presence a steadying force for her crew, who trembled with fear and hope in equal measure. She gathered them on the observation deck, where Earth shimmered below, its blue oceans reflecting the distant light of the sun. "We have returned," she said softly, her voice carrying through the room like a gentle current. "We have survived what no one else could survive. And now we face a choice, not just for ourselves, but for the life we carry with us." Her eyes drifted to the containment field, where Essite's shifting form pulsed in response, almost as if it understood her every word. Some crew members looked doubtful. "Commander, the aliens, they're serious. They warned us. This entity could destroy everything. Are we sure we're doing the right thing?" One young officer's voice quivered. His hands shook, betraying the fear he tried to hide. Sita placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch firm but gentle. "Courage is not the absence of fear," she said. "It is the choice to face it. We are not here to destroy life. We are here to protect it. And sometimes the right choice is the hardest one to make." Her words sank deep, not just into the minds of her crew, but into their hearts. They had followed her across the void, through loss, through impossible odds. They trusted her, and in that trust they found strength. Outside, the alien emissaries made their final move. Ships shifted into positions that could unleash devastating energy waves. Their comms crackled with warnings, ultimatums, and threats. "Surrender the entity or we will act. You leave us no choice." Their tone was cold, unyielding, but it carried the subtle undertone of fear. Sit's power was unlike anything they had faced. Sita did not respond with anger or words. Instead, she activated the Aurora's communication systems, broadcasting a simple message across human and alien networks alike. We will not destroy what we cannot understand. We will not yield to fear. Humanity stands for life, and life must be protected. SIT is not a threat, it is a part of our future. The statement echoed across space. Human stations, colonies, and fleets responded with solidarity. They did not fire weapons, they did not demand compliance, they simply stood together, a wave of conviction stronger than any fleet. The galaxy watched as Huma chose courage over fear, protection over submission, hope over despair. Inside the containment bay, SIT pulsed more strongly. It shimmered with waves of light that rippled across the Aurora, stabilizing the ship's erratic systems. Every flickering light, every vibrating panel, settled as if the being itself approved of humanity's choice. Sita reached out and touched the containment field. A pulse of warmth spread through her hand, traveling up her arm into her heart. It was a connection she could not explain, a bond that transcended language, species, and reason. The alien emissaries paused. They had expected compliance or resistance with force. They had not expected unity, resolve, or empathy. They saw something in humanity that they had not predicted, a species willing to embrace the impossible, to risk themselves for life, and to stand unwavering in their convictions. Fear shifted into hesitation. Threats became questions. For the first time, humanity was not seen as fragile or reckless. It was seen as something greater. Sita turned to her crew. "This is our test," she said quietly. "Not a test of weapons, not a test of strength, but a test of who we are. And I know we will pass." They nodded, hearts pounding, but faces determined. Together, humans and SIT had faced the void, endured the impossible, and now they faced the galaxy itself. And in that moment, the universe learned something it would never forget. That humanity's courage was not measured in fleets or firepower, but in the will to protect life, no matter the odds. And Sita Ray, weary yet unbroken, knew that they were ready for whatever came next. The test was far from over, but humanity's heart had already won the first victory. The Aurora floated silently in Earth's orbit, but inside, energy pulsed like a heartbeat. SIT shimmered within its containment field, radiating light that bent and twisted reality around it. Scientists and engineers watched in awe, their instruments struggling to keep pace with the entity's ever-changing form. Gravity shifted, panels glowed unpredictably, and even the ship's AI seemed to speak in new tones, musical and alive. It was as if the ship itself had become part of SI's being, an extension of its energy, and the crew could feel it in their bones. Sita Ray stood close to the containment field, her hand hovering just above its shimmering surface. "Steady now," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but carried the weight of decades spent navigating the impossible. She had survived the void, endured the loss of friends, and faced dangers no human should ever witness. And now, she was about to see the true extent of why SIT had been brought into her care. Without warning, SIT pulsed brighter than ever, waves of light radiating across the ship. Panels stabilized, flickering light steadied, and weak systems hummed to life. The once corrupted AI now responded smoothly, guiding engineers and crew members through repairs with clarity and precision. Every section of the ship that had been damaged or decayed over decades suddenly felt whole again, as if the entity's energy was repairing not just the Aurora, but the very fabric of reality around it. Scientists stared, unable to comprehend the scale of what they were witnessing. It's restoring the ship," one whispered, his voice trembling. "And not just mechanically, almost spiritually. It's like it's breathing life into everything it touches." Engineers nodded in disbelief, tears forming in some eyes. They had been prepared to study, contain, and perhaps fear SIT, but what they saw now was pure wonder. Sita's gaze never left the entity. She had carried it across the void, protecting it from threats both seen and unseen, and she had trusted it with her life. Now that trust was rewarded in ways she could never have imagined. The ship, the crew, and even the human technology surrounding them seemed to respond to SIT's presence, aligning with the rhythm of its energy. It was not just alive, it was a force of creation, of healing, of hope. Outside the ship, alien emissaries hovered, watching with a mix of disbelief and awe. Their warnings, their ultimatums, their fears, all seemed meaningless in the face of what they now saw. SIT was not a weapon to destroy, but a miracle to inspire. Their rigid orders and calculations faltered as they realized that the humans had made a choice the galaxy had not predicted: to embrace the impossible and trust in life itself. Children across human colonies watched the live feeds, mesmerized by the glowing entity, its light reflecting in their wide eyes. Scientists recorded every moment, knowing history was being made, and Sita Ray, standing among her crew, allowed herself a small smile, the first in decades that felt entirely free. The weight of years, of loss, of endless darkness seemed lighter now. Humanity had faced the unknown and survived, and now they were witnessing a gift that would change everything. Sit pulsed again, brighter and more intense. The containment field glimmered, but there was no fear, only warmth. A connection spread from the entity to the crew, to the ship, even outward to the distant observers. It was subtle, impossible to measure, yet undeniable. Sit communicated hope, trust, and a quiet joy at being recognized, being safe, being part of a life that had chosen to protect it. Sita reached forward, placing her hand lightly on the field. The warmth flowed into her, through her heart, filling the hollow spaces left by years of fear and loss. She whispered softly, almost a prayer. "You are home now. No one will harm you. We will protect you." Sit shimmered in response, sending waves of light that seemed to dance in celebration, stabilizing the ship further, and filling the Aurora with life and energy the humans had never thought possible. In that moment, humanity realized that their courage, their choice to protect the impossible, had unlocked something far greater than any weapon, technology, or fleet. They had been chosen by life itself to witness a miracle. And for Sita Ray, weary but unbroken, the weight of decades lifted slightly, replaced by awe, pride, and a hope that would shine brighter than any star. The galaxy had watched the impossible, and for the first time humanity understood that sometimes the greatest power was not in conquest or control, but in courage, trust, and the will to protect what others could not comprehend. The Aurora glided gracefully toward Earth, her hull gleaming softly under the planet's blue glow. Crowds gathered along orbital stations and spaceports, eyes wide with hope, fear, and disbelief. After decades of mourning, humanity was about to witness a miracle return. Not just a ship, but a symbol of endurance, courage, and the impossible made real. Inside the command chamber, Sita Ray stood tall, her gaze drifting between the stars outside and the glowing containment field of S-Site. The entity pulsed gently, its light calm now, almost tender. It had survived decades of exile, crossed the void of space, and endured dangers no human could imagine. And it had chosen to trust humanity. Sita felt the bond deeply, a silent, unbreakable connection between her, the crew, and this being that defied all comprehension. As the Aurora docked, alarms and communication signals harmonized in a chorus of life. People on the ground and in orbit erupted into cheers, tears streaming down faces that had longed for this day. Scientists and engineers scrambled to stabilize the ship, but S-Site's energy radiated through every system, repairing, healing, and strengthening. Every flickering light now burned steady, every weak panel restored, as if the very essence of life had returned with the Aurora. Children pressed their faces against viewing windows, mesmerized by the shimmering form of Sit. Its fluid, radiant shape shifted endlessly, impossible to define yet undeniably alive. Parents held their children close, whispering that life had returned, hope had returned, and perhaps the universe itself had chosen to give humanity a gift beyond measure. The alien emissaries, who had once threatened war and demanded surrender, now hovered in quiet observation. Their simulations and fears had been proven irrelevant. Humanity had chosen courage, trust, and compassion over fear, and in return Sit had revealed its true nature. Not a weapon, but a wonder. Some emissaries transmitted messages of awe, acknowledging that humans were not weak, not reckless, but resilient and capable of choices that no machine or calculation could predict. Sita descended the gangway, her steps slow but purposeful. Around her, humanity had gathered, cheering, reaching out, marveling at the ship and the being it carried. She held the containment field carefully, feeling S-Site's pulses ripple through her hands. "You are home now," she whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "We will protect you always." Sit shimmered in response, waves of warm, radiant light spreading outward, touching every human who watched. For the first time in decades, Sita allowed herself a full, unburdened smile. The weight of years, loss, fear, the endless void lifted slightly, replaced by awe, pride, and profound relief. Humanity had survived what should have been impossible, embraced what could not be understood, and emerged stronger, wiser, and braver than ever. The Aurora was more than a ship. It was proof that courage, hope, and compassion could defy even the vast emptiness of the universe. Sit remained with Earth, carefully observed and gently nurtured by scientists who now understood that some life forms transcended definition, physics, and fear. Philosophers debated its nature, artists captured its beauty, and children dreamed of the day when they too might touch the impossible. And through it all, Cedar Ray stood quietly, watching, guiding, and protecting, knowing that she had done what humanity did best: face the unknown and choose life, no matter the odds. In the years that followed,